One of the biggest issues that players face in Rocket League is actually doing something with the ball when they have an opportunity. So many players get a little bit of time with the ball and end up just booming it away from their car rather than actually having a plan and executing on it. The problem with this is that you often just end up handing the ball directly back to your opponents over and over and over again. So in today's video, we'll be looking to fix that, as we discuss the keys to beating your opponents in Rocket League. Now, when it comes to beating your opponents, there are three things that we need to consider. Number one, we need to actually have awareness of where our opponents are. If you don't know where they actually are, you don't know how much time you have with the ball, and therefore you cannot figure out what you need to do to take them out of the game. So step number one, whenever we have a chance to play the ball, is going to be to determine just how much time we have to work with. Then step number two is going to be understanding how our opponents are going to attempt to approach the ball. This means that we need to work to keep our eyes off the ball and on the other players, so we can get an understanding of how they plan to challenge us. Then, utilizing that information, we can move to step three, where we actually work to take the ball around them. So to summarize, step one, identify the amount of time you have. Step two, identify how you're being challenged. Step three, combine that information and formulate a plan to take the ball around the challenging opponent. With these ideas understood, let's go ahead and hop into a couple of examples to showcase these ideas in action. We're going to be looking at two examples here of how you can actually work to beat your opponents. So in this first one, we're going to be moving on upfield with our teammate, waiting to see what happens. The demo comes out and the clear starts to come through. So with what we can see here, we can see that our teammate out of the play. He's ahead of the ball. There's absolutely no world in which he tries to stay on this, so we don't need to worry about him. We have one opponent who's been eliminated off the field for the time being, and we have the second opponent all the way back here in the opposite corner getting that boost. So utilizing that information, we now know that we do have a decent amount of time with this ball. The one thing we do need to be aware of is any possible respawn coming in on this side of the field with the results of this demo. So as this ball comes across, we're going to go ahead and swing along with it. So with that knowledge, we're going to go ahead and start to work on over to the side. You'll notice that as we're going, we still have peripheral vision down into this corner here, which will tell us when an opponent possibly pops back up. And we're just going to keep on going, catch the ball up the wall. Now, the big thing here is as we go up the wall, we need to immediately get eyes on where the opponents are. So this guy has respawned in the opposite corner, and the guy who was in the opposite corner has worked his way all the way across and is now the most likely player to challenge. So now we've recognized how much space we have. We have a little bit still to work with. We've recognized where the opponents are, so now the question is, how exactly are these players going to plan to challenge us? The natural idea is going to suggest that this guy is not going to go into the corner because he sees that we are going straight up the wall. If we were pushing this ball into the corner, then he would respond by going into the corner as well. But because we are going up the wall, he is going to want to gain height on this play to be able to challenge us in the air as early as possible. So we can expect that he is also going to be heading straight up this wall. We're not really overly concerned about what this guy's doing right now, because our first objective is this player right here. So as we go ahead and roll this forward, you can see we're just watching him come up the wall. We jump off, just stay behind the ball, and this entire time we're watching this player, because as you can see, he's currently jumping off the wall. And now we know exactly how he's planning to challenge us. He is planning to just go as quickly as possible to try to take this challenge and catch us off guard to be able to get a pretty heavy clear back down the field. The good news for us is that we have eyes on this, and because we can see this challenge coming, we now know exactly what we need to do to beat it, which is simply flip the ball past the challenge, because as he jumps here, he only really has one trajectory towards the ball, and if we wait just the right amount of time, we can easily flip the ball right on past and allow ourselves to not only get around that first player, but also stay in contact with the ball so we can turn our attention on how to beat the second player. So we'll see here, we see the challenge coming, and just at the perfect moment, we go ahead and take the ball right on past. Perfectly timed beat there to take the ball around that first challenger, and now it's all about understanding what is going on in the mind of this player here. So in general, if you see a player flying through the air like this, in fairly good control of the ball, near the backboard, the general understanding is, oh my gosh, he's about to try to shoot this. So we better work to defend the net, which makes sense on defense. You don't want to give free shots to players in this position, but again, we have control of the ball, so we're playing with the advantage in this situation, because we know that he's going to want to defend the net first and foremost, and we can almost fake out a shot and go for a pass, utilizing this guy's fear of the shot to our advantage, which is exactly what we're going to do, because our goal on this play is not necessarily to score. We want to remove the two defenders from the play so that we can leave an open net for our teammate, hopefully, to come through and finish the play off. So as we go through the air, you can see that we are not even thinking about going for a shot here. We're waiting to see this guy jump to come challenge, and at the time that this challenge comes up, we're just going to push this ball into the backboard, take it past this guy, and drop it back out into the midfield for our teammate to clean up. And this is a very smart idea. When you can threaten the shot, taking a pass off the backboard will almost always bait out that last defender, because they are forced to play the net to make a save on any potential shot. So by utilizing this idea, we can just decide that we're not gonna try to double tap this off the backboard. We're just gonna tap it back off down to our teammate. That completely removes the defender from the equation and leaves the ball completely for free for our teammate to come on in and finish off. So you can see just how effective this idea is. You don't have to do anything crazy, you just need to keep an eye on how you're being challenged, and when you see that challenge come out, push the ball around it and do your best to stay on top of it so you can possibly follow it up and get around the next challenging player. And the more you can do that, the more often you'll be able to set up your teammate for wide open goals like this. For example number 2, we're going to have a bit of a longer overall play. You'll see here that we're just kind of floating down to the ground, and as we land, we're going to immediately turn off ball cam because this ball is currently bouncing over our shoulder, meaning if we have ball cam on, our camera is just going to be looking this way when the possible challenge coming in from an opponent is over there. So by turning off ball cam, we not only maintain contact with the ball, but we can also see any potential challenge coming in well before it happens. And this is again the awareness of where our opponents are so that we can actually utilize their approach to plan on how we're going to beat them. So you can see right here, we just wait, and now we can see that opponent coming right on in here. So now the key is going to be to let them come forward until they've fully committed to this play, and then utilize the information of seeing them coming to just tap the ball directly around them. And again, try to do as much as we can to take our card past them as well, so we can follow up on the play after the fact. But this is all about recognizing how much time we have. We have time to let this ball come down. This guy's not on this immediately, but we're going to want to bait him into challenging aggressively so we can get the ball past him pretty much for free. So you can see here, we're just waiting. We see the approach. We're going to keep waiting. And the second that he's so close that he has no choice but to really go for this, we're just going to hit this ball into open space. Now, the big important thing here is that you're playing to beat your opponent. You are not playing to score a goal. One of the most dangerous things that players do is in these situations, they try to beat the opponent directly towards the net. The problem is you're then hitting the ball directly into where your opponent is challenging from, making it very easy for their challenge to be successful. So instead, we want to always plan to hit the ball away from our opponent so we can take them out of the play. And at the end of the day, that will help us make the net more open, therefore making it easier to score. So right here, we're going to go ahead and see the challenge coming from our right. So we go ahead and chip it to the left. We do get bumped, which is a little unfortunate, but we're going to follow up fairly quickly. Gonna try to go here for a pass into the midfield because we do identify that there is an opponent sitting in net, so if we can get this ball kind of high up into the air, it's a possible shooting opportunity for our teammate. We obviously don't want to go low here because that is where the opponent will very easily have a save. So that's our idea, right? We see the opponent on the ground in net. Let's try to go high to take it around him. In this situation, unfortunately, we're not going to get the best touch, and we put it in a spot where our teammate can do absolutely nothing with it. This got no real momentum into the midfield, kind of is just lingering in this corner-ish area, which is a very dangerous spot because now this teammate can't go, and this opponent now has an opportunity to push forward and get a clear out. And with only a 1-goal lead with less than 30 seconds left, we want to try to maintain possession of this ball as much as we can. So with that in mind, we're going to recognize, okay, that wasn't the best touch. We can again see that our teammate is not able to go. So what that tells us is we have a free ability to go again for this ball. And in doing so, we can keep an eye on how this guy approaches it. And again, use that same technique to just take the ball past him to delay time and try to maintain possession for our team, which is exactly what we're going to try to do. So we see the two challenges possibly coming out. So rather than just try to like dribble this ball or control it in any way, we're just going to go ahead and pop it past this initial challenge so that it gets over that player, again, buying a little bit more time for our team to get set up on the defensive end of the field. So, you know, that's not the greatest play overall, but we do buy enough time. Teammate can come in to challenge. That's going to get the ball off of joystick initially, and now we have a bit of a group meeting of the opponents on this ball here. And the important thing here is, again, we just want to keep as much control of the play as possible. So we could just decide to sit back here and let this dribble come at us. But in doing that, we open up the opportunity for this bump, as well as a much more dangerous flick. So instead, we've just gotten the full boost. We're going to utilize the fact that this guy does not have full control of this ball yet to turn immediately to go get this challenge as aggressively as possible. And this is where you can struggle if you don't have perfect eyes on your opponents when they turn to challenge. Because if you see a challenge coming like this, that's your immediate cue to just pop the ball over the top or pop it around somewhere away from where the challenge is going. But in this situation, we're just not going to allow enough time for this ball to be fully controlled to the point that that pop is really possible. We just jump up and immediately cut it. You see they kind of went for a bump as well. Honestly, if Cupid had just double jumped this, it's probably going over the top of us. But instead, he chooses to be a little bit overly aggressive probably, which works in our favor. But that's why it's so important to keep things simple on your offensive attacks as well. Normally, just a simple double jump pop when you have someone challenging like I did here is enough to get over the top of that opponent. But we will take the challenge happily, and you can see there, immediately after the challenge, what do? We immediately check our camera from where the opponent is. Okay, joystick is coming back. We gotta be aware that he's gonna be behind us, so let's utilize that information to our advantage. We're gonna make sure we don't get bumped. Just hit the brakes slightly, stay out of his way. We know he's just gone that way, so he's able to turn if he wants to, and the important thing is we only have 16 seconds left. At this point, the opponents are not going to want to just play farther back. They're going to want to try to challenge unexpectedly to be able to win this ball back into the offensive half so they can create a goal-scoring opportunity. With that knowledge, we can assume, even if we can't see him challenging, that he's probably going to be looking to nip in on this as soon as possible. So utilizing those assumptions, we're going to want to make sure that as this ball bounces off the sidewall, we're able to jump up quickly to beat any kind of initial challenge. And that way, if they do challenge, we win the ball past them. But even if they don't actually go, we're still playing the ball into their corner in a spot where we can easily follow it up immediately and continue to apply pressure to them. So right here, we're just going to assume that that challenge is coming in. And in this case, we're rewarded for that idea with the fact that joystick did decide to turn immediately, and this pop is going to take the ball directly past him, again earning us a chance to come downfield. The second defender on the blue team not recovering fast enough, and we're just going to have ourselves an open net, and we'll go ahead and secure the win in this game. So this idea really is simple. When you do have a chance to play the ball, make sure you actually do something with it. So many players, especially in the lower ranks, like to just boom the ball away whenever they get the opportunity without any thought as to what's going to come from that touch. If instead you just took a moment to survey the field, understood how much space you had, kept an eye on how you were being challenged by your opponents, you would actually be able to formulate a plan of something you could do with the ball to actually give your team a more favorable position on the field, which at the end of the day is a key to winning. The team that more often finds themselves in favorable positions around the field is the team that will have more opportunities to score and therefore will have a higher probability of winning the game. So make sure as you're playing your own games that you actually focus on doing something useful with the ball. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you who made it to this point in the video, and I do hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you'd like to be a bit more involved in the community we're building here, feel free to join my Discord, which I'll have linked down in the description. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.